Hello, everyone. It's been a while. I have been busy. After the series that I just did, which was all astronomical and astrological, all the information you needed to understand the ritual as the template for the quote unquote temple that they're using for a ritual sacrifice. Now, I want to give you some perspective on the area itself that they are going after here in the 2024, the eclipse. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Carbondale and Cairo, Illinois, and Little Egypt right here. Also, this, which is also in this area, this general area here, Shawnee National Forest, which a subscriber, Tammy Lynn 6147, she offered a link, and as I was researching it, I saw that piece of the puzzle that I had not considered or even possible, which was exploring the area in question, which would be this area here. Just exploring what makes this area so, what could be here that's so special, and what is the history. Well, thank you, Tammy. This actually closed a big hole that I would have omitted if you didn't offer that link. So thank you. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to explore this very long rabbit hole that I went down. This is all new information that I came across this past couple weeks. But this man here is going to introduce you to some of the peaceful and serene aspects of the area in ways that I could never, or in ways that these people can never give you, which I'll give you some history later. But for now, let's just enjoy what this man has to offer. This peaceful adventurer.
All right, what's up, everyone? My name's Gary, and today I'm headed to Horseshoe Bluff. And I have been here before, but it's been a long time ago. And I know there is a really good overlook over here, and I want to go check that out. Now, this place is a little bit harder to get to than some of the other places I've been to. It's about a 2-mile hike, so I anticipate it'll probably be 6-7 miles before it's all done. This is cool. Wow. Yeah, so what we've got here is a little prominent point of Horseshoe Bluff. And then we've got this horseshoe lake here. So this is a former course of the Big Muddy. This is not the Big Muddy, because the Big Muddy is right over here. And then we've got some power lines there. And off way in the distance there, starting about right there, that is Fountain Bluff. And I don't think I can see Little Grand Canyon from here, but it's in the same line as this bluff. There's a creek in the middle that splits it called Cedar Creek. So we've got Horseshoe Bluff, and then Cedar Creek, that's behind here, and then Chalk Bluff. And that's where part of the Little Grand Canyon is on. I don't know if you can see it from here, but there's a line of hills that go this way, and that's where Route 3 goes through, which is the Great River Road. And this is the Mississippi floodplain. I mean, as you can see, it is expansive. Even though the Big Muddy is here now, the Mississippi did go through here at one time. And it's just carved out this floodplain, this valley. So it just shows you the power that the mighty Mississippi. You know, it feels good to just come back to an old familiar trail where I started at. It feels good to come back home and just be on a trail you don't have to worry about. You know what's up ahead, but in a way you don't, because it's a different time of year, different season. You really don't know what to expect. So I'm back. Even though this is a small canyon compared to out west or wherever, it has a pretty significant beauty here in Illinois. Just not many places that look like this. And coming through this little canyon that sweeps through the valley. Yeah, just a special place here. The canyon here, this is the main part of the canyon that goes around. It gets deep right in there. I don't know how deep. I've never actually waded across it, but I know it gets deep in there. When I was coming down here, I had to be mindful of these cracks here. And the reason being, I have been down here before and I have seen like water snakes. I don't think there's been any copperheads, but it just kind of, kind of freaks me out when I do see a snake in some of these crevices, because they can hide anywhere. I was talking about how I might see a snake over on this side underneath this cliff, but here's what I found. On this side, there's a insole here from a shoe. Right there, there's a water snake. I don't see his head. Try to get a better look. Yeah, he's just hanging out in there. Pretty good there. Yep, we're gonna get out of its way. I've always liked these pools here. They create these hourglass shapes. They're really beautiful this time of year. It's got this algae in it, gives it this green texture. Then you've got these red minerals contrasting with that. Just to observe those little pools and nuances of this flowing creek. This is one of the reasons I like this little creek. Features like this. So here you can see some of those potholes. So these are created from when the water does something like this, does a stair step, and it drills into the sandstone. I think those rocks are probably from up above where it's farmed down and just got stuck over there over time. So these streams are somewhat reminiscent of the Missouri shut-ins, like the Castor River, the Rocky Falls. Even though this is not as big or even made out of the same material, it has that feel. I've got to go up and around this pool now. You can see how grooved this rock is. So we're getting a little bit more elevation change, so it's digging deeper into the rock. Very striking emerald green pools down here.
Here is a couple of other enthusiasts at the Garden of the Gods.
Look at that, here it comes.
Where? Where?
He's on the move on the other side of the rock by the stick. Wow.
I can't believe he actually jumped that. Guys, I'm not going to be that brave today. That ledge looks really slippery.
What a view. These boulders are gigantic. I can't believe they're made of sandstone. But seriously, this is Illinois.
Oh yeah. And now that is a cliff. Amazing. Wow, like a little scary in some of these cliffs. But it's not really for the faint of heart once you start climbing in this area.
There's some really interesting rock formations over here. I mean, the way the water has carved this out, it almost reminds me of a painting like Starry Night. There's all these beautiful swirls in the rock and it looks like tree bark.
More of Gary. Amazing. Here's a little history from the Shawnee National Forest and official government agency information on the area.
And actually back in the Hoover administration, the chief of the Forest Service, they actually presented that report and it was refused. This was back in about 1931, because there was a lack of funds. So they weren't quite ready to make it a national forest quite yet. President Roosevelt came into office, and this was about in the early 30s. And as part of the New Deal, the purchase of lands was approved in about 1933. It quickly took land out of cultivation so that they could start to restore the land through planting pine and to stop the cultivation. But also it poured a lot of cash into these really pretty economically depressed areas. And so Southern Illinois became kind of the largest continuous wooded tract of land here in Illinois. And then after that, things kind of started to go pretty quickly. John Wernham, he was sent to start acquiring land here in Southern Illinois. And this is, again, part of the New Deal era. So there was a 20-man cruising crew that was sent. There were 13 conservation civilian corps camps that were set up. So you can see in that top left-hand corner, that's a picture of one of the camps. I mean, these were huge establishments. And a lot of the guys that were the CCC enrollees were World War I veterans and younger. And so a lot of it initially was road construction because there was really not great ways to get around. They built recreation areas. Some of the buildings we still have here on the Shawnee, they're still standing strong, like some of our picnic pavilions and things like that. They collected nuts for tree planting. They quarried gravel. They built bridges, strung telephone line. And a lot of those early restoration efforts, again, were to control erosion, flood control in addition. And the big thing that these guys did to get started is they planted pine, mostly shortleaf pine and pitch pine plantations. And the reason they chose pine is pine grows very quickly. And so what they wanted to do is get these trees planted, get those roots to keep the soil in place to prevent erosion. Forests here in Southern Illinois, in a lot of places, we're kind of an oak hickory dominant forest for thousands and thousands of years. And the benefit of that is because the oaks and hickories provide mast or food for lots of different wildlife. So you've got the trees, you've got the food, you've got the wildlife. It just kind of all, goes together well. But because of lack of management, lack of fire, and management in terms of having some forest thinning, our forest canopy has gotten really, really thick. In other words, when you go visit a forest, the idea is that you let the sunshine in. There should be sunlight hitting that forest floor. And when the forests aren't managed, we don't get in there and thin some of the trees and or get some fire in there to let the oaks and the hickory seedlings get in there. We get more of a shade dominated forest, which are our maples and our beeches. And that's kind of what we're seeing here in Southern Illinois. What we're trying to do right now is do some selective removal and thinning. Specifically, what we're trying to thin is those pine trees that were planted back in the CCC. Again, pine is not native here in Southern Illinois. There is one native pine, which is the shortleaf pine, which grows naturally in a couple of our natural areas, LaRue Pine Hills and a little bit farther up the Mississippi River. But we're not a really heavy pine area.
So I'm going to end it here for now. But
This is actually just
and I'm doing this to show you a few of the interesting areas of the Shawnee National Forest. And definitely check out Marks of Curiosity. I'm going to explore a little bit more into the history of the link that I was given earlier. But this here, all of this rock was of the crustal stresses here, where it's not, the earthquake zone here is not a zone of two plates rubbing against each other. This is one plate with two stresses on the outside coming together, squeezing in, and then the center of this plate is showing the stress.